knocking stuff over with my hair. It's a powerful hair. Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. So today I have a very interesting book tag, and I was tagged by Hunter Mass to do the, yes, I'm referring to my notes, that's not what it's called. It's called the Popcorn Opening Paragraphs tag, and it was created by Stripped Cover Lit. And basically this tag is to select at least 3 books where the opening paragraph sparked something in you, or is your favorite opening paragraph, or made you like the book for some reason. So I actually ended up choosing 5 books. This is kind of surprising because I have moved 4 times between 2015 and 2018, and each time I moved, unfortunately, some books did not make it with me. So the bookshelf behind me is comprised of mostly books that I haven't read, but there are a few, including these 5 that I chose, that I have read and that I did like for some reason. So I went through and I checked out the first paragraphs, and I'm going to read them to you and then elaborate on the paragraph and the book and why they stood out to me. The first book I'm going to talk about is called Green Angel by Alice Hoffman, and this is an itty-bitty book that I have had for a long time. I think I first read this in middle school. So the first paragraph is, I once believed that life was a gift. I thought whatever I wanted, I would someday possess. Is that greed or only youth? Is it hope or stupidity? As far as I was concerned, the future was a book I could write to suit myself, chapter after chapter of good fortune. All was right with the world, and my place in it was assured, or so I thought then. I had no idea that all stories unfold like white flowers, petal by petal, each in its own time and season, dependent on circumstance and fate. The future is something no one can foretell. And the first thing that stuck out to me was the fact that you can tell the protagonist, Green, is telling a story from the future about something that is going to happen. And you kind of get the idea that she was once a hopeful character, but she really doesn't feel hopeful anymore. This book has stayed with me for years, and I'm not sure why. It's not my favorite book by any means, though I think it was at some point. But the thing I really liked about it is I think this is the very first, very dismal dystopian novel that I've read. I think it's more of a novella really, because it is tiny, but it is so good. And obviously there's something bad that happens in the story that completely changes Green's idea of the future being something that she writes for herself, and she kind of has to learn how to cope with the future that is pushed upon her. And that's something you really get right away from the first paragraph, at least I think. You understand that she was once a youthful, hopeful child, and she's very quickly turned into a much more jaded character. And even though she's only 15 years old, but she does a lot of growing up very quickly. And the second book I want to talk about is Fahrenheit 451 by Ray Bradbury. First paragraph is, it was a pleasure to burn. That's it. It was a pleasure to burn. Obviously the first thing that stuck out to me about this paragraph is it's only 6 words long. It's very short, it's very sweet, and it's meant to pack a punch. It's meant to be short for a reason. And there are some people that worry that, paragraphs need to be a certain length, they can't be too short, they can't be too long, the same with sentences. But there are reasons that a writer would choose to have a very short paragraph or a very long, rambling paragraph. I've definitely been trying to incorporate more well-known classics into my reading repertoire. Fahrenheit 451 was one that definitely stuck out to me because it does deal with book burnings, and you can tell by this first paragraph that the protagonist enjoys burning books. The protagonist's job is to destroy books. At the beginning of the book, he enjoys destroying the books because that's his job, and he's supposed to understand why people do it. This is a world where literature is completely outlawed and all books are destroyed, and people who own them are usually killed. I think they're always killed. I think some escape or banished. I forget. It's been a while since I've read it. But as you read the book, you'll realize that his opinion on books and burning them and so on starts to change. The third book I want to talk about is called St. Lucy's Home for Girls Raised by Wolves, stories by Karen Russell. And this was one of the first books I read that actually fits into what is known as a hybrid category. It's a collection of short stories that all sort of weave together into one novel. So you're not quite sure if it's meant to be a novel, if it's meant to be just short stories, but you realize that all the stories for some reason mesh together. The first paragraph comes from the first story, which is called Ava Wrestles the Alligator. And the first paragraph is this. My sister and I are staying at Grandpa Sawtooth's old house until our father, Chief Bigtree, gets back from the mainland. It's our first summer alone in the swamp. Your girls will be fine, the chief slurred. Feed the gators, don't talk to strangers, lock the door at night. The chief must have forgotten that it's a screen door at Grandpa's. There is no key, no lock. The old house is a rust-checkered yellow bungalow at the edge of the Wild Bird estuary. It has a single airless room, 3 crude palmetto windows with mosquito-blackened sills, a tin roof that hums with the memory of rain. I love it here. Whenever the wind gusts in off the river, the sky rains leaves and feathers. During mating season, the bedroom window rattles with the ardor of birds. Ardor? I don't really know how to pronounce that word. The reason I really like this paragraph is because there's so much imagery in it. You really get the feeling that you are in the swamp that she's talking about. I've never been to a swamp or a bayou or any place in the South, but even I felt like I was there, and I can understand why she likes it so much. You're not really sure what the story's going to be like as you're reading this paragraph, but I just loved the imagery and the feelings that it brought. Even though she talks about a swamp, which is sort of, for a lot of people, like a gross thing, you can tell that she loves it and that she loves being there and that she really appreciates nature and she loves being at her grandpa's house. One of my favorite things about a book is when they write setting very well, and I like to think that I write setting very well. So this is the kind of paragraph that really makes me feel like I'm part of the world, not just an outside observer. The 4th book I want to talk about is another hybrid sort of book, and it's called A Visit from the Goon Squad by Jennifer Egan. So here is the first paragraph. It began the usual way. In the bathroom of the Lissimo Hotel, Sasha was adjusting her yellow eyeshadow in the mirror when she noticed a bag on the floor beside the sink that must have belonged to the woman whose peeing she could faintly hear through the vault-like door of the toilet stall. Inside the rim of the bag, barely visible, was a wallet made of pale green leather. It was easy for Sasha to recognize, looking back, that the peeing woman's blind trust had provoked her. We live in a city where people will steal the hair off your head if you give them half a chance, but you leave your stuff lying in plain sight and expect it to be waiting for you when you come back? It made her want to teach the woman a lesson, but this wish only camouflaged the deeper feeling Sasha always had. That fat, tender wallet offering itself to her hand. It seemed so dull, so life as usual, to just leave it there rather than seize the moment, accept the challenge, take the leap, fly the coop, throw caution to the wind, live dangerously. I get it. Cause, her therapist said, and take the fucking thing. And there's a lot of stuff that happens in this particular paragraph. One of the reasons I like it is because, yes, you get a sense of who this character is, Sasha, but it also jumps in time at least like twice within the same paragraph. She's describing something sort of as it's occurring to her, but then you realize that she's actually recounting the situation to her therapist in the future, which is still told in past tense. Like, there's a lot of like tense going on here, but it's not confusing to me. It actually just kind of adds to the interest. You think you're in the bathroom with her debating whether or not to steal the wallet, and then you realize that you're actually in a therapist session with her sometime in the future. You also get the idea that there's something strange about Sasha because she seems to be a compulsive thief. You can tell that she's struggling with who she is as a person because she's in therapy, but you also kind of like her a little bit because, or at least I do, because she's kind of quirky in the way that she describes things. So this is the kind of paragraph to me that really would draw me into the book. And the reason I chose this one and St. Lucy's Home for Girls Raised by Wolves was because they were the first hybrid books that I read, and they also inspired me to write a hybrid book of my own, which isn't finished yet, but it's on my to-do list. And the last book I want to talk about is actually a nonfiction book. It's called The Introvert Advantage, How to Thrive in an Extrovert World by Marty Olson Laney. First paragraph reads like this. It starts with a quote. It is the chiefest point of happiness that a man is willing to be what he is. And then the first actual paragraph. Growing up, I was often puzzled about myself. I was full of confusing contradictions. An odd duck. I did so poorly in 1st and 2nd grade that my teachers wanted me to repeat, yet in 3rd grade I did very well. Sometimes I was very animated and talkative, making crisp, informed comments. In fact, if it was a subject I knew about, I could talk someone's arm and leg off. Other times I wanted to speak, but my mind was blank. Or I would think of something to say in class, raise my hand, thrilled that I might improve the 25% of my grade that was based on class participation, but when I was called on, my comment would disappear into thin air. My internal screen would go dark. I wanted to crawl under my desk. Then there were the times when my remarks would come out in some halting, unclear form, making me sound much less knowledgeable than I was. I developed all sorts of techniques for avoiding the teacher's eyes when she was scanning the class for someone to answer a question. I couldn't rely on myself. I never knew how I would react. And obviously this is written by I was going to say the protagonist. This is written by the author's point of view. Oh my god. Fuck. I didn't know you were coming in here, dog. You scared the shit out of me, like, for no reason. There's a wild animal in here. Oh no! The reason this paragraph stood out to me was because you are right in the writer's point of view. And for me, this book was actually pretty life-changing in some ways. The first time I heard about introverts and extroverts was from my mom, who recommended this book and gave this book to me. And this was the book that really made me fully understand what it's like to be an introvert who has to live in an extrovert world. Because, especially in America, extroverts are usually praised and in more abundance than introverts. So as I was reading this first paragraph for the first time, I found myself in the author/narrator's perspective. I felt like I could totally relate to them, where there are times when someone will try to talk to me in person and I'm not nearly as animated as I am now. And in fact, filming videos is one of the things that actually helped me, I think, become better at speaking off the top of my head. And of course, I'm editing out all the awkward pauses and me stumbling over my words and losing my train of thought. But anyway, the paragraph itself really helped me feel connected to someone who was very much like me. And the book in general, I definitely recommend to introverts anywhere, and even to extroverts who have introverted friends or an introverted partner or introverted kids, and you want to understand what they're going through. So I guess that's all I have for you guys today. That was the popcorn opening paragraphs tag, and I thought it was really interesting. It was very unique to just focus on opening paragraphs of books that I really liked. And so if you are watching this video, I tag you because I don't really know who else to tag. Whoever's watching and feels like doing this tag, then I tag you. Have fun and enjoy. If you'd like to check out my book, Blood of Fire, I will leave the link in the description where you can purchase it on Amazon in paperback and Kindle form. If you'd like to follow me on other social media, I'm on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and Goodreads, and I will link all of those in the description as well. So until next time, see ya!
What you doing, buddy? What you doing, buddy?
Oh, there's my baby. Hi, sweetie. Oh, what a good boy. Oh, are you here for a cameo appearance? Oh, we're getting dog nose vision. Good boy. Oh, sweetie, you're so cute. You want to come up? Up. Up. Who's that? Is that you? Oh, oh God. You're so good. You're so sweet. Yes, lick up all the makeup that I worked so hard to put on.